Hey guys and girls, just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about Buzzsprout. Start a podcast today with free podcast hosting for Buzzsprout, easy podcasting software for hosting, promoting, and tracking your podcast. Buzzsprout is the best way to publish a podcast online for secure and reliable hosting to full iTunes support. Get started for free, no credit card required, cancel at any time.
Stats for losers.
That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Welcome to the Airin podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Jets Island. I'm Dustin Marion, your host. My guest today is Harrison Glaser from Take Flight Media. What is going on, Harrison? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always happy to be on your show. It's a class act. I love it. Love to talk those Jets. Let's get into it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And for those that didn't know by the intro of it being Jets Island, this is a show that is dedicated to talking, screaming, and yelling about anything Jets relative.
Yeah, buddy. That's the best you could do right now. I mean, that's what's going on. Everyone's turning against each other.
I mean, who
we got
would
divided nation? We got divided Jet fans.
Right. Imagine you would have never thought in your voyage to becoming more of a blogger and a writer that this would be the best year for you to do it, because the Jets are like at the top of the list, losing every game and making them, you know, a topic for conversation. I mean, they've been literally, you hear the Jets every week and you got teams and other things happening, but at least we stay in the news feed, baby. We there. And thanks to guys like you who at least put positive twist on some of the negativity they send in our direction.
I try, man. I try. I mean, other people have pointed this out. I get how it works when you work on a beat. It's a tightrope walk because, you know, you got to keep everyone happy. You make the wrong people mad like Manish did. You get those credits pulled. I totally understand, like, exactly. But that's the nice thing about being independent. Also, I'm an educator mainly. So I'm going to say whatever I want to say. And if you don't like it, it is what it is.
I know. I think that that's actually, a very interesting new level that's added to the game, because you got some of this old school style of doing things. And now with podcasting, with social media, you can talk shit, still have tons of credibility, but not worry about the credibility taken away from you just because you represent, an older establishment that's more of a brick and mortar style of reporting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting. I mean, people said that, I forgot. I think it was Colin Quinn who made the joke about it. Love that guy. He said, if I would have went back like 15 years ago or so and told you that we're going to make a medium where you could hear what every single person is thinking all the time, just whatever thought pops into their mind at any point, you'd be like, dude, that's crazy. Don't do that.
Dude, I remember when MySpace came out and I was just so bored. I was like, this thing is nothing. And then look, it was potentially like one of the forefathers of this whole engine that moves now. So we don't want to bury the lead, right? We were talking off air a little bit, and we're going to bring this conversation into the on air segment. But as fans, we're depleted. We go out there every week. Everybody, for the most part, I know the fan base. You go out there every week with the mindset that they're going to win. They haven't been winning, right? We're in the middle of a desert. It doesn't seem like things have been really going that well. I thought the last time that Christmas came early was when we signed Le'Veon Bell, but that seems so far ago. Besides that, there hasn't really been phenomenal news. I mean, besides Bell, us having a lot of cash to spend, that's usually like the best thing that you could say about the Jets at the time. And now, what you were talking about is that you find it fascinating that Lawrence is just an automatic, slam dunk, especially for when an organization needs so much. And I'll let you in on this, that the fan base is just so thirsty that we're on it too. Everybody wants Lawrence, right? This guy is now Andrew Luck. This guy is now Peyton Manning. And no offense to him, but he hasn't played it down in the NFL. And that you could be spectacular in college. That don't mean jack shit in the NFL.
Yeah, no,
Please.
I totally agree. And I wouldn't say taking pleasure in it, because I'm a huge Trevor Lawrence fan. I want to preface and say, I love the ACC. My dad went to Duke. I grew up watching ACC football and basketball my whole life. I love Clemson. I remember a throwback back in the day when the Jets took Taj Boyd in the fourth round. Just if my Clemson fan this, I was like, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be great. But it's interesting the words people use. And I feel like I was mentioning this the other day. I pointed something out about Douglas, and it seems every single argument that everybody made was the same. They were using the exact same words. It was almost like they were copying and pasting it from each other. So I think, a lot of bigger people may say certain things. I think it's important to stop and actually think for yourself, because they keep throwing around words like generational talent. But I think the important thing to realize is they're talking about generational college talent. If you want to say he's going to be a generational NFL talent, then you're saying he's going to be the best guy because he's generational. So my question for you then would be, do you think he's going to be better than Patrick Mahomes? Because that guy is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. So when you hear these words like generational talent, it's all tapped into potential. And I love the guy. I think he's going to totally be great. But like I said, you look at the best quarterbacks in the league right now, Mahomes, Watson, anybody. None of those guys were called generational talents. Aaron Rodgers was taken like late in the draft. I remember him sitting in the draft room watching everybody go before him. The dude was looking like, that girl at the prom that nobody asked to dance. He's still sitting at the table. Tom Brady went the sixth round. Everybody passed up on that man 6 times. Everybody says if they can go back, they draft differently. So he definitely is a college generational talent. He's one of the most talented guys to come out. But again, to extrapolate that to the NFL, none of these guys were considered generational at the time. They have great teams around them. The only one that would be generational would be a guy like Andrew Luck. And if you look at him, he had a horrible offensive line where he got blasted like 50 times a season. He had bad coaches that put him into bad situations and kept him playing to the point where his arm was like falling off, and he retired early. And we look at the Jets, next generational guy. Our interior of our offensive line is garbage. Darnold is getting sacked all the time. And it's just, we have bad coaches. I mean, I hope Adam Gase is not going to be back, but I honestly think Douglas praising Gase is lip service, in my honest opinion. I really do feel that. I could be wrong. I feel based on the.
No, I believe you on that, because every time they always say this guy's the greatest since sliced bread, he gets fired the next day. That's how the NFL does you. Usually, you know what I call that? I call that the Sicilian kiss goodnight. Whenever an organization says that the coach is amazing, it's over. It's over. So that's actually a really good spin on it, because I wanted to bring it up to you. I don't mean to interrupt you, but Damian Woody talked about it. When you say that this guy's part of the plan, that shit sounds dangerous. When anybody who's anybody should totally understand that. I mean, Josh Booty is going to be sprinkled or peppered into this show a lot, because he talked about Gase, and something that you said, something that NYJ, Matt and Mike have both said, is that, Gase is not a leader of men. He understands analytics. He understands the super complex nuances of how to run and manipulate offenses against defenses. But he's not the guy that's going to sit you down and say, hey, bro, what's going on? What's happening? Let's work this out. Don't worry about it. I'll swallow my pride. You swallow your pride. Let's hug it out and let's go dominate. He's more of like, fuck this. This is the line and I'm the boss. And so, when you talk about those things, to reel myself a little bit back in with your stuff, was it's insane, right? Because look, in college, it's designed for these guys to put up crazy numbers. That's another reason why I don't really care about it. I don't want to see 70-10. I'll do 35-40. The
difference between teams and players in college is astronomical.
Yeah, it's crazy.
None of them make it to the NFL.
No, dude, Reggie Bush was one of the greatest running backs in college and didn't do as much like amazing. I mean, he was phenomenal still, don't get me wrong. But they were touting him like Gale Sayers, Emmitt Smith. And that didn't happen. And even the Emmitt Smiths and the Gale Sayers of the world were later draft picks, right? And it's like the same thing. Like when you look at Lawrence, yeah, you're doing great stuff. But now, I mean, the guys, look at what you just said. The talent disparity is huge. You're not going to be throwing against. It's like the Madden that you said you don't want to play until fucking EA fixes it, right? That's the real fucking NFL. When someone's covering your guy, if you don't throw that shit right, it's either going to get picked or there's not going to be a catch. Like, you got to be on point. These guys, these linebackers are fast and smart. I mean, when you think about some of the greats out there, you're not telling me this guy's not watching 100 fucking tapes on you?
If I may, though,
please.
You brought up Gase a second ago, and this is just something that's
we're going to get back to him for sure.
He's supposed to be an offensive genius. Like Woody said, I haven't freaking seen it. But the point is, like, to your point, He's not going to be the motivational guy. He's not a Rex Bryant. He's not a Herm Edwards. He's not a guy that's going to make a player want to run through a wall for you. But here's the thing. There were guys like that. Remember Tom Landry? He was a stoic, reserved guy. But the difference is he put up the results. You can be that kind of a guy,
Bill Belichick,
but the
bro.
team has to speak it. Exactly. Landry, he wasn't the guy to sit you down and tell you what's what, but his team was stacked and he performed well. If Gase's numbers were where he claims to be an offensive genius, then he could be as stoic and reserved and as smug as you want. But at this point, you can't have both.
No, I agree. I mean, like I said, we're going to be continually burning the flame that is Adam Gase, because I really thought, like I said, I like what you said. Hopefully that means he's out, because I really can't think of the future of the Jets basically being tied to Gase. If what we're saying has some relevance, and to bring it full picture all the way, maybe, Jets fans, I feel like there's just so much pressure to be the number one pick, especially from a quarterback situation, that teams get it wrong, right? And, there's no more proof in that when I just said, Trubisky could have been Mahomes, it could have been Watson, right? You could literally take those three guys and move them anywhere around. And if you put Patrick Mahomes on the Houston Texans, who's to say he would have the same success, right?
I'll take you, and I'll raise you another one with that. If you think about it. All the quarterbacks that were in the NFL that were supposed to be great and wound up busting for one reason or another. If you've noticed, they've made phenomenal announcers. Sanchez is super intelligent. Dan Orlovsky is brilliant when it comes to stuff. This just shows you, and people, again, it's hard for a fan to see it unless you're part of the organization. There's a myriad of factors to why these guys fail, and it's not their skill level a lot of times. It's not their intelligence. Their football IQs are through the roof. Like I said, look at Orlovsky, but he was a career backup his whole career. His things just didn't pan out. He didn't have time. You could find a million things. Maybe the right coach wasn't in place. Maybe somebody didn't teach him to do a certain thing. There's a million things, but all of them have the potential to be the guy.
No, I agree. I mean, it's such a slippery slope, because everything's got to be perfect. I mean, I was talking to Josh, and again, using those words, generational QB, and to bring in with someone you were saying off air too, like homeboy's not even Joe Montana, and not even Joe Montana right now is going to be able to execute with the X's and O's with the dudes that are the X's and O's, because right now, I mean, granted, Douglas, whatever, the eyes for me are going to be on him very closely this offseason. Should the Jets trade back? I mean, I think that there's a lot of us that believe that. Are they? Probably not. But, you got questions all up and down this lineup. And another thing that Booty talked to me about too was that for teams to be special, you need 4 or 5 guys on both sides. We don't even have one on either side. I could maybe give you the bright spot, the left tackle. That guy's a house. And I'm sure once he gets to figure it out, he's going to be the ultimate professional. He's just amazing. He handles himself for the most part pretty good, and he's on a really, really tough situation. I would say that's one. On D, I can't find them. Hopefully when my boy comes back, Mosley comes back, that'll be something. But wow, this is talent-wise, when you look at it, there's not a lot of talent.
And the point of that, I hate to bring this up, but we got to think about this. I feel like, it's like you said, that desert thing, it's basically also tunnel vision. People, they can't. I wrote an article in the past, literally titled "The Definition of Insanity." And if you look at what we've done, I mean, we had Sanchez surrounded with talent. He wound up failing when all the talent left. The problem right now is, let's say Gase is still there, but just in that situation, everyone. I think it's wrong that Darnold is ruined. I think that's crazy as a 23-year-old. But let's just play into that for a second. If Gase ruined Darnold, if he's still there, how does he not ruin Trevor? That's one huge thing right there. But also, the reason I'm into the trade back, this is $1 million thing. Darnold's going into his 4th year. That's the question. Contract, money, the rookie reset. Everyone likes it. Again, the terms people are throwing around because one big guy said it, and then everyone else is saying it. The rookie reset. But here's the thing. I want the trade back because that can give the team 12 to 16 picks, 5 to 6 top round guys, maybe 8 or 10 pan out. But if they take Trevor, only maybe 2 or 3 of those guys are going to pan out from that draft. So you're looking at least a 2 to 3 year rebuild. I'm going to flash you forward. It's now Trevor's year 3. We're in the same freaking situation. He's been either okay or not great because the talent hasn't allowed him to. Or Gase hasn't allowed him to. We're in the same situation. The only way to break a cycle is to actually do something different. And like I said, this is, I've said this, it's not about Sam and it's not about Trevor. It's about a team that has been depleted and devoid of drafted talent that's cultivated through the draft since 2011. It's been a decade. Even in 2015, that team was built solely in free agency. Brandon Marshall, Fitzpatrick, Decker, they had a solid year, but it tapered off because that's not sustainable. You don't build through free agency. Free agency is a complementary piece. That's why I personally feel that Joe gets that by taking Becton, my guy, for 2 years. We loved this kid. He was the one I wanted. Then I said, we got to take a receiver or something in the second round. I didn't think Mims would be available. He was. I'm convinced because of decisions he's made that he knows what I'm saying. I could be wrong, but I think he's going to blow everybody's mind, and he's going to have teams bidding against each other because that Trevor Lawrence has been built into this generational talent, this can't miss quarterback. So teams are going to keep bidding. We're going to get like a whole draft class. We're going to walk away with I can't even imagine 20 something picks maybe.
Bro, it doesn't even fucking matter, bro. If we could hit on 3, we're good, right? Like if you gave me 15 and I pulled out 3 versus having 7 and maybe hitting 1, right? Like that's what the Jets need to be able to.
Because there's going to be 5 or 6 top round guys.
So talk to me about this guy, right? So Josh came in a little bit and woke me up a couple of days ago. So who is the second pick overall? Is this kid named Fields?
Yeah, Justin Fields.
Where
He's
you come
the Ohio
from?
State quarterback. This is where things get interesting. He didn't start at Ohio State. For some reason, I'm blanking right now on the exact school he started from. Plus, he's not the typical Ohio State situational quarterback.
Got it.
So I'm willing to accept that. But from everything I've seen in the past, I've always felt that Ohio State pampers their quarterback. They have very simple, which is okay. That's what you want in college. But they have very, you remember Bryce Petty at Baylor? He's the perfect example. That guy put up ridiculous numbers, 72 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But it's because it was the system he was part of. And I feel like that's always been Ohio State's thing. They have an excellent system in place where they have very simplistic reads for their quarterback. The kid throws a great ball, but I feel like I haven't seen any reads. I haven't seen progressions. They run a lot they run. And I just feel like his throws are fades or cut, very simplistic routes. I just feel like when you compare him to a guy like Trevor, it's just night and day. And I look at, again, Ohio State, and I can't think of a quarterback in the last decade that wasn't a bust. If you can, let me know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel you. Okay, boom. So we got this one. We'll come right back.
And that's my personal feeling. I know everyone else is telling me.
No. I want to go back because this is usually the fun time for me. I call the draft Thanksgiving. Free agency is, I know it's reversed, but free agency is more like Christmas. But so who's because you say you was looking already at draft boards. Who's going third overall? What's this person?
I think it's very interesting. There's a couple of good quarterbacks this year. There's guys like Trey Lance, who it's interesting. He comes from North Dakota, like Carson Wentz, but he just had a ridiculous, I believe it was last year, where the kid threw 20-something touchdowns and not a single pick, not one, none. But then again, I mean, I think it's the perfect thing with Trevor. You see it all the time. Teams are willing to reach for quarterbacks. I did not think many quarterbacks would go in the first round. Then I looked at Matt Miller, who I respect. I looked at his most recent mock draft. He had 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the first round. Wow. 2 or 3 of them I remember were guys that I didn't think would go to the 3rd or 4th. So I just think when you have something like that, the one thing it does is it knocks down talent. Like when we got Quinnen that year, teams are going to reach for quarterbacks and other guys making top edge rushers like we need, top wide receivers available.
That's what keeps happening to us because we're usually 3, 4, and 5, and then a good QB. I mean, we got lucky with Sam, but usually the QB that everybody's covering is off the board, and usually that D tackle or that defensive end that was supposed to go 1 overall slips. And we've had that opportunity for a while. Yeah. We keep getting great defensive linemen. The problem is, one, we can't sign them or reach an agreement where it's okay, you're a beast, but we need to afford other guys, bro. So where can we meet here in the middle that you don't break the bank, but you're also happy to play for us, right? Because I understand their position. There's a cultural change that's about to happen, and you want to make sure that you can set your family up. But in the same token, a lot of these guys wanting so much money makes it difficult for teams to be put together. let's go back to Fields real quick. So the same thing, man. Like I said before, I really think that a lot of these guys have a lot of success because, like you said, man, all of these teams have. I mean, Oregon, I can't tell you who the quarterback is, but that team is going to put up 50, right? Anybody in the SEC is going to have like dominant defensive players, people from Florida, people from, South Texas. We're going to get all the wide receivers from Southern California. Like, there's just a formula that keeps cooking.
It's a credit to those guys. It's a credit to the coaches.
100%.
Nick Saban did the same thing for a decade.
Yeah.
When you have that level of ability, all the guys come to. I thought Saban said it best. When they asked him if he would come back to the NFL, he flat out laughed in their faces and said, let me tell you something. You guys as an NFL team get one first-round guy a year. My Alabama team has like 15 first-round guys because they all want to play for me. And now Clemson is what Alabama was. So they have top premier talent. I mean, Travis Etienne, that's the guy I want. No matter what happens, I want that kid in the draft. I'm a huge ACC and Clemson. I love Travis Etienne. This guy not only has the most rushing yards in Clemson history, he has the most rushing yards ever in ACC history. This kid is going to be amazing, and I want him. Not with the first overall pick, but again, with a trade back mid-first, late first, you got to pull the trigger on that kid.
All right. How about, and so nothing really crazy at running back?
Well, that guy I really love. I mean, that's just a position we need. The way I look at it is, I've said this, Sanchez had all that, great talent around him. Let's just say with the trade back. First pick, you take, let's say we do like with the Jaguars, who have 2 firsts. You want to put the 5th, 6th pick, you take Jamar Chase. You now have the best wide receiver, not only to come out of college now, some argue like, this generational crap. He's ready. I'm going to say it now. Ready? Jamar Chase is a generational wide receiver. Because it's true. I hate to say finished product, but he's the closest. And you watch his play, his cuts, his routes.
Who does he play for?
LSU. He was
LSU.
The reason Burrow was. He's
really
struggling this year. This year he's struggling.
Because there's no QB probably.
But his tough catches last year, he made with 2 feet down like he wasn't trying. He only needed one. Nobody told him.
So just because I got to look him up now, what kind of body type would you say he would be similar to somebody in the NFL?
Jamar Chase, in my opinion, is very similar to like an Odell Beckham.
Wow.
He plays physicaler than his body. Like I think he's about same size, like 5'11", 6'10", about 190 something, early 200s, give or take.
Okay.
But he plays bigger than his size.
Got you.
So you take him first. Now you've got a wide receiver 1 with Mims as the wide receiver 2.
Yes.
Crowder's in the slot. You take Travis Etienne. You have your running back 1. And now you go for that tight end.
Bro.
Herndon's been a freaking joke, man.
Terrible.
So Kyle Pitts, my guy's Kyle Pitts, guy from Florida. Check this kid out. I've been saying for a year and a half, he looks like the next Travis Kelce.
Wow.
He does. This kid is fast, but he's only 240, but he's very strong for his size.
Dude, that's like a lot of. See, this is the kind of stuff that they need to be thinking about because automatically now you have an offense, right?
Now you have Chase, Mims, Crowder. That's 3 wide receivers. Got Etienne in the backfield.
Yeah.
Pitts is his tight end. Again, think about when Sanchez was good. He had his Holmes and his Edwards. He had Keller and the tight end, and he had in the backfield Sean Green.
That's what you need. That's what you need. You need a couple of wideouts. You need definitely a tight end to get you out of tough jams. And you need running backs to keep defenses honest. I mean, you just can't keep lining up and everybody knows you're going to throw the rock.
That's why I love, and everyone's different. Again, people watch Joe Douglas's interviews. A lot of it was lip service, but you got to listen what's here for. There was one line. I love the guy. I knew this from the beginning, but he flat out said when he was talking about Quinnen, not only are we need shopping him, he said he plays a premium position, offensive and defensive line. And that's what I've always loved about Douglas. Again, not only has he taken my guys in the first draft, he believes like me, and check my Twitter, I've been saying it for years, football like war is won and lost in the trenches. 100% on offense and defense. If you don't have an offensive line that can protect your quarterback, give him time, open up a running game, you can't win. And if you don't have a defensive line, and I'm counting edge rushers, that can get to the quarterback consistently, like our problem right now, our leading sacker has 3 sacks. What the hell is that? I mean, that's like low on other teams. I love Quinnen. I think he's going to be great. I think it could be Greg Williams using him wrong, but he's on track to have 6 sacks this year. 6.
Wow.
The hell's happening? What's going on there?
I've told you before, earlier in the season, man, I don't know what happened. I mean, these guys, kudos to every Jets player on the team for not burning the organization at the pulpit, because they've had multiple opportunities and these guys have stayed in line. God bless them. In the same token, man, that's crazy, dude. You know, like it was good, I guess, because we got the first pick, but I knew this D was going to be in super duper trouble without Adams back there. And it's and again, kudos to him as well, because it was pretty much the same defense that we had last year. I mean, mind we didn't have Mosley, but still, Jets defense seemed to be a lot more tougher last season. This season, they're not as tough. Seems like they've given up.
Yeah,
6 sacks total. Honest, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, I haven't been. Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. I had a tweet on. Here it is. I've never been high on Greg Williams. You remember I said
know you told me on the show.
The first week we met, I haven't liked him since the day we signed him. My personal feelings, that was Bountygate. I feel like, these NFL players are role models for young kids. That's why we've changed the game, with the head contact and the heads up football. I just can't deal with the fact that a coach is paying his players to intentionally hurt other people. That just did it for me. I felt like Sean Payton and him should have never been allowed to coach again. I may be alone in that, but that's just how I felt. But even as just a coach, everywhere he's been, he's flat out worn out his welcome. He has maybe one or so good year, and then everything after is questionable. I'm going to read you a stat right now. We were talking about how the Jets can't get to the quarterback. This year in 2020, they have 41 total QB pressure. That's second worst in the entire NFL. They only have 11 sacks. The whole team has 11 sacks. That's seventh worst. They only have 18 QB hurries and 31 QB hits. That's tied for fifth worst. Just like Gase, Williams ranks in the bottom consistently of every category.
There's going to be a lot of
each other, man.
There's going to be a lot of unemployment jobs, hopefully, in that building, because it doesn't seem, from what we've dissected, the D coordinator is not worth anything. Doesn't really seem. It's Cooter's our offensive coordinator, right? And that just smells like a fire. And then Gase, I mean, there's nobody that you would keep. I mean, the only bright spot, and we've talked about it, is maybe keeping Hines to continue to develop the wide receiver, pool. I think that's what he's a positional coach for the receivers, correct?
Yeah, there's a few guys. I mean, Hines is the assistant wide receiver coach under Sean Jefferson.
Okay.
And you've probably seen, I think it's the LA Rams. His son, Van Jefferson, is amazing. He's a rookie this year. Sean Jefferson is a great coach. Everywhere he's been, many credit him for, he was there when Calvin Johnson was with the Lions.
Gotcha,
That's when he started his career. Many credit him for coaching him. Everywhere he's been, the Tennessee Titans, when they had Kendrick Bourne those years, where they had like 3 guys putting up 1,000 yards, he's consistently had good wide receivers. That's why I look at that and Frank Pollock. I've said he's a good offensive line coach. I look at the team and I feel like it's got to be Gase and Logan. I mean, it's got to be the play calling, because we got a good wide receiver coach. We have a good offensive line coach. We have a pretty decent defensive line coach. What the hell is happening?
So now, speaking of those dudes, you've been watching obviously every game every week. Gase,
unfortunately,
right? I know. Gase just relinquished play calling. Do you think it's better?
And that's I brought that up in my article I'd written the other day, because people were noticing in the Bills game when they played the Bills. And I hate to give Gase credit for anything, but he actually did this really smart. Remember earlier in a couple of podcasts back, I said the best thing about bringing in an interim is it shakes things up for the other team. That's why I think it was brilliant. He waited to the last minute. He didn't, announce it a week before. He waited till like 48 hours before and said Logan's is going to do it. That threw a tailspin for the Buffalo Bills. They're like, oh shit, we got to re-prepare now. So that first half, the Jets brought it. You saw they looked good, even without Jamison Crowder.
Even without Le'Veon Bell, bro. They had P. Ryan looking like a baller.
Yeah. And then in the second half, they laid a golden egg. I think they had like 4 yards. And everyone's like, I love it. It's 100% Darnold. It's Darnold. He sucks. But if you look at what happened, it's an 100% credit to Sean McDermott, the Buffalo Bills coach. He's awesome. He's amazing.
I love him. I love everything about
I don't like the Buffalo Bills. I hate to give him credit.
I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like him, because, man, 4 back-to-back Super Bowl appearances is pretty awesome.
Well, it's a personal thing. Like when I was younger, I was at a Buffalo game and there was a whole...
I get you. But for whatever you do or you don't, those guys coaching, I tip my cap. They've done an amazing job.
But on to McDermott, though. So in the first half, he was trying to watch the game. You could see it, full half. He was trying to blitz from the edges. But our tackles, Sexton and Fant, wouldn't have any of it. Our tackles are good. We have good tackles. Also, the Jets were doing short dunk routes. You saw quick slants, quick fades behind the line of scrimmage, while the Bills were playing off the line in his zone defense. That's why they got away with it. Again, the brilliance of McDermott, he's taken notes, and he's like, okay, I'm going to change it up in the second half. Problem with us is Low Games proved as inflexible and inadaptable as Adam Gase because McDermott changed it up, and he kept doing the same shit. So if you watch the second half, you'll see they couldn't come from the tackles. So what did they do? Bart Scott said it too. I'm so glad he said the same thing I did literally. They pushed the middle of the line. They used their middle linebackers and their interior D line to push our guard and our center back into Darnold's face. And anyone who's played quarterback, they'll tell you, if when the edges are coming at you and the tackles, that's facial awareness. You've seen quarterbacks, step up, step back. When your guards and centers are being shoved in your face, that's not facial awareness. Those mother MFs are 6'6", 6'7" feet tall. When they're in your face, you can't see shit. I don't care who you are. The field is black to you. You can't see anything. They pushed the pocket in Darnold's face by pushing the middle of the line. That was our weakness. And the coverage. They said, they're playing short passes. We're going to play in the second half. Watch them. They did it. They played against the line of scrimmage. They played man coverage. They said, we're going to let these crappy wide receivers try to separate from us. And of course they couldn't. So you push the pocket into Darnold's face every play. The receivers can't get separation. I'm surprised you didn't throw 5 interceptions.
Yeah, no, that was disgusting, that game. And then it was like a spark of hope. I was like, wow, are they going to win this game? Are the Bills fatigued? But that's actually really good. And I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's 4 quarters and it's 2 halves. And you might have not put your best stuff out in the first, but it's always, about it's over when it's over. And, they're definitely not finishers, but it looked like they were starting on something. And so now we'll go to being that the case. We lose again this week, right?
This was interesting. And I feel like, again, people are 2 things they're missing, like, the going 0-16. Going 0-16 is really rare. Other than that Detroit Lions team, nobody's really done that. It's a very unprecedented thing because, like you mentioned before, these guys, like the other time when I talked about Tank and not being real, these guys want to play. They want to make something happen. Even Adam Gase, he doesn't want to lose. He just doesn't have what it takes. So a team like the Patriots right now that are struggling the way they are, their defense looks good, but their offense looks struggling. It's tough to go 0-16. We talked about, having the first pick. This season's only half over. We got a whole nother half of the season to go. We win 1 or 2 games. With our strength of schedule, we're out of that first pick. We're now 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and the conversation's over. Because if you're 3rd, 4th, 5th, you're not getting, even though I don't like Fields, you're not getting Fields or Lawrence. That ain't happening. And Douglas is not trading up. If you think Douglas is trading up, you are out of your mind. That man cultivates draft picks. He knows what it's about. He ain't not trading up. That is not happening.
So I feel like it's a trap game for both teams, right? Because the Jets trap game in the sense that you're like, I'm coming in. Cam, well, we talked about it. He ain't playing like he normally plays. He was looking soft the last 2 weeks. And this is totally a game for the Patriots to tool it up and kind of get back on their second half run, right? And the same thing for the Patriots. Patriots might come in. Cam Newton might look at the schedule. Jets are weak sauce. And then all of a sudden they pull something out, right? I mean,
that's the thing, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if Stephen Gilmore is playing this week because I know he was out last week. So that could be that's going to be a huge. If he starts, sure. that might be difficult for the wide receivers. And then I mean, the Patriots have so many players, but I think the Patriots, you can beat them, right? They're very weak at a wide receiver, very weak. They're also very weak at tight end. So this might be actually a real ugly game because if it's a both, like I can see this being low scoring. The difference is that, I mean, Sam can run to the house if he chooses to.
As we've seen, man, that guy's got legs.
He's also not, like 6'6", 220 pounds and leaps
he's not as tall, but he's a solid dude. He's 225.
He's not going to leap single bound. He's not going to leap buildings in a single bound. So we'll see how they want to do Cam, right? Because Cam right now is going to be 2 weeks removed after COVID. Maybe it's a little bit more routine because these guys need routines. The moment they break that shit, it sends chaos through their whole body. And it could be. I mean, like I said, this is a 50-50, I would like to say, for sure.
No, and you're right. Like you said, I mean, Cam Newton hasn't looked great, but like you said, he's Cam Newton.
He can throw the cape on at any second.
The dude was Superman for many years. He can run like it. You can't even imagine.
Right.
He's got the arm strength.
Yes.
For all we know, maybe he was recovering from COVID.
Correct.
Maybe this week he's back to 100.
Right. Uh-huh.
And our defense, we can't get to the quarterback.
No.
Even when he can't move, he can't get to the quarterback.
Correct.
So you factor in a guy that can run like him, like Josh Allen did to us.
If they give him time,
it's tough to contain that man.
That's going to be trouble. Because Cam is...
How are they not?
Right.
How are they not?
Right. I know based on the statistics.
In the whole year.
I know based on your statistics.
Have one guy with more sacks than our whole freaking
Christ.
team.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be... Is it, by the way, I didn't even check. Is it in New England or is it in New York?
It's in New York. But what's crazy, like
that's
you
said, a little better.
Patriots haven't been good. We suck as hell. I can't believe the NFL left it on Monday night. I totally thought they were going to switch it up and be like, we need a better game.
They can't do that shit now because of COVID, so they get nervous. So now they switch teams out based on COVID. I'm sure that's the thinking.
I would have figured they would have done that.
Yeah, but then now they're like, we can't be switching games so fluidly just in case we got to switch another game. So if it stays, it's there. But I tell you this, Bill Belichick struggles in New Jersey for whatever reason. There's like this weird Giants curse on him in the weird way because he won a chip there. So now every time he comes back, unless he's wearing, the blue and the blue and red representing the Giants, Tom Brady has not played there well. He hasn't played there well. Usually the Jets, when they play New England at home, that's a hell of a game. This time they don't got Tom Brady. We only got barely 11 sacks. But I think it's gonna be a good game. That I'm gonna probably fuck this up. You're gonna see me where I was wrong, where my columns of where I was wrong. Because last week I didn't think that they were gonna get smoked, bro. By the way, 21 fucking and change points. 21. No, it was 19 and a half. If I was gambling, I would have took it. I would have took the 19 and a half. I would have lost.
This is one of the most important stats, and I threw this out, and I noticed you saw it. We tweeted it before. I feel like again, it's rhetoric. People are going to show you what makes their argument best. If they want this, they're going to show you the facts that show that. It's just natural. And I did a little digging, and I found this out. You saw it with touchdown interception percentage. Sam Darnold's interception percentage is not low by any standard, but it's gone down since his rookie year. Gase, as we say, has, quote unquote, ruined him. He's made his career worse, which is true. Yet, back in 19 and this year, his interception percentage is lower than it was in 2018. However, his touchdown percentage has dropped 2.5 times from the two last seasons to now. It's gone from 4.3 to 1.6, which if you feel like, oh yeah, he's thrown 6 interceptions, but he's only thrown 3 touchdowns. It's not on him. That stat shows you he's bringing the interceptions down. He's actually managing what everyone claims is his problem, that he throws too many picks. That's come down. But if the touchdowns are dropping too, it's because we saw it with Flacco, hitting wide receivers in the end zone that are dropping balls. Most of these guys have no business on an NFL roster. And we can thank, not Joe Douglas, we can thank Mike McCagnon for not being able to draft or knowing even what a draft is. He would have been better just having a board and throwing darts at it because he just missed on everything. Even first-round guys, which I showed that the other day, it isn't supposed to happen. You're supposed to hit on your first-round guys. But go back to 2009. All of our first-round picks are either busted or on a different team right now. That's just crazy.
Dude, I seen a stat, and I might be wrong. It's not 100%, but I could have swore it was over like 50 players over the last, 10 years, and we've only hit on 2. That's crazy, bro.
Well, I guess it depends what you define as hit. I mean,
like getting a Pro Bowler, let's say, getgetting a Pro Bowler, I would say hitting.
Like for example, I mean, it depends, and here's a good point, it depends on who was the GM.
Right.
Like when Parcells was GM, he found guys like Pennington. He found some great guys.
He's amazing.
Even Tannenbaum found DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Nick Mangold.
Looking back at it now, he was probably the best GM in the sense of building cornerstone players.
And that was the problem. 2012 happens. They let all the talent away from Sanchez. Holmes is gone. Edwards is gone. Holmes is hurt. Edwards is gone. Keller's a shell of his former self. The running game isn't good. He must suck. Bring in John Itzik. Freaking the Geno Smith experiment. Everything since that day has been a shit show of GMs that don't know how to draft and swing big in free agency to compensate, which is why you brought it up before about the money. I don't care how much money Joe has in free agency. I'm going to tell you right now, he ain't going insane. We're just used to that because we've had GMs that don't know how to draft. So they're like, oh, man, I can't hit on anything. So
not only that, they want to make a splash on the back of the Post and the Daily to keep up with the Giants. You know what I mean?
That ain't Douglas's MO. He's going for he'll sign like the Patriots did. We need a quarterback. We got Cam Newton. So there's a couple of guys like my one free agent, if we can have anybody, to me is Michael Gallup.
Really? You want Gallup?
I personally think Schuster is good, but me personally,
I was trying to guess. I was trying to guess what you were going to pick.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong. I feel like Gallup's ceiling is higher than Schuster, in my personal opinion.
You know, that's a fair statement. That's a fair statement. That's a fair statement.
Yeah. And people say the USC connection, but Schuster was there long before Sam was. I mean, they went to the same.
That's the only reason why I think. That's why I would think that it would make sense, right? You bring another USC guy. For the most part, I mean, his ceiling is low.
Hey, if you want to do that, draft one.
Right,
Amon Ross St. Brown will be in the draft this year.
I got you. But then you got to bring in homeboy. He's got to learn the playbook. He's got to learn how to be a pro. You know, I'm just saying, like, Mike and Matt are clamming. You know, I would say that the Jets' wish list is Harbaugh, and a lot of fucking people want Schuster. And I'm with you. I'm in the Schuster camp of he has a ceiling. But what I do like about Schuster, and the problem is that the money never equals that way because you're going to have to probably pay Schuster a little bit more than just to be like, hey, join the team. But never in bad media, always smiling. He kind of reminds me a little bit more of Hines Ward. He's a hell of a blocker. He does everything that the team needs to do.
And so you can say all the same things about Gallup.
I get you. I'm saying is I agree. I got to watch more of Gallup. I've watched Schuster. I think Schuster's knocking him. I mean, he's pretty much letting a rookie outshine him. And that might be crazy to say, but Claypool, it could be also that Schuster's being covered a lot more with the better DB potentially and being moved around the field following him. And so that gives an opportunity to Claypool, but I feel like Claypool has excelled way more than Schuster has. I just, Gallup, I think he's okay. I don't think he's great. I mean, I think CeeDee Lamb is better than him.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver one. I want to point that out.
Sure.
And again, to be fair,
right.
I don't think Juju is a wide receiver one
Correct.
either. That's
Agreed.
the point.
We're talking about twos and threes.
Gallup,
yes.
Yeah. I look at him and Gallup as legitimate too.
Yes.
But if you get, Gallup in free agency, pay him what he needs. You get Jamar Chase in the draft. Now you have Chase, Gallup, Mims, Crowder, and anybody else you want to stick under them. That is a hell of a lot of talent to give Sam Darnold. And you mentioned before Harbaugh. I think an important thing with that is it's kind of like with Trevor Lawrence. People are excited about, what he was.
It's the crackers.
He was great. I mean, he never had a losing season. He went to the championship game 3 of his 4 years. He was great, but he's happy at Michigan. I don't think he wants to leave. I've said it before. If you want to keep Sam Darnold as your quarterback, the man to get 100%, I've been saying it since day one, Arthur Smith, the OC for the Tennessee Titans. This man, I don't know if you heard a little about him.
You told me. You were telling me a little bit about him. He got on my radar.
His father owned FedEx. This kid is freaking loaded. He's, what do you go, those nest egg kids. He could sit at home, play with all his money, never have to work a day in his life. But he loves football. And because he loves football, he's worked his way through the ranks to become an OC. And I look at just what he's done with Tannehill alone. We talked about it the last time. Tannehill was not great, but good before Gase got there. Then he turns into this imploding back hole where he wants to possibly retire. He's playing his best football under Arthur Smith. So I feel like Arthur Smith can do for Sam Darnold exactly what he did for Ryan Tannehill. And he did it for Tannehill when he was 30 years old. He took him out of Gase's footprint. Sam is 23, the same age as rookie Joe Burrow.
I hope that they have the foresight that you just laid, because if we can do everything you've said in this episode, I feel like we would have an amazing team. I'm being honest, man, because we definitely need somebody. If we're gonna stick with the kid, you got to train him, and you got to get some fucking Jedi guy to teach this Padawan. You just can't get some dude with nothing on his resume and then a self-proclaimer, I am the best. I like this dude from Tennessee. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Tannehill under Gase, Tannehill under somebody else. Somebody else excelled this dude to a Pro Bowler, fantasy player. I mean, this guy is hot right now, Tannehill. Maybe you could do the same thing for Darnold, and that would help out immensely, and it would be a pretty smooth translation or transition for him hopefully we could do some of these things, man, because we need something.
It's this tunnel vision. It's this tunnel vision, man. Everyone forgets, like you forgot what Darnold looked like in 18. You forgot what he looked like in 19. What everyone also forgets, when we drafted Sam Darnold in 2018, he wasn't considered a finished product. That was not what was said about him. It was said that he needed work, but he was the youngest quarterback to ever be drafted. When he started week 1 at 20 years old, he was the youngest quarterback to ever play week 1 as a rookie. And that was what everyone said. People tend to forget that. It wasn't that he was a finished Trevor Lawrence product. It was that he was so young that if it took him 2 or 3 years to develop, like today, he's 23 years old. That's the same age, like I said, of all the rookies in the NFL. And he's in his 3rd year.
Oh, his birthday must be in December. He's a lucky cat. All right.
He's a young guy.
I want to keep some on the bone because it seems like, I mean, we always have a good time chopping it up and getting it going. We're going to get you back on here next week. Keep it going. Keep it flowing. Thank you so much, Harrison, for coming down and gracing us with your amazing Jets intellect.
Oh, my pleasure, brother. It's always great to be here. Always happy to be on. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And we got to get you now on the live show, which, by the way, is being a little delayed, having some technical difficulties. But thanks again, buddy. We'll talk soon.
My pleasure. You take care, man.
Yes, sir. Stay safe, everybody out there, and God bless.